Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the core ideas from Caspian Lux's book, The Edge of Instinct. In a world that's just drowning in data, we're going to explore a really powerful idea. What if your own intuition, your gut feeling, is actually your ultimate secret weapon?
All right, let's just jump right in with a question for every leader out there. In a world that's constantly changing, truly unpredictable, can you really afford to rely only on the numbers for your biggest calls? The book we're breaking down today argues pretty forcefully that the answer is a hard no. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First, we'll talk about why data isn't always enough. Then, we'll get into this cool idea called blended decision-making. After that, we'll look at the instinct edge framework, the how-to part, then cover how to actually get better at this stuff, and finally, we'll see why this gives you a massive advantage. All right, first up, let's set the stage. We really need to understand the world we're operating in right now. Why is that old-school, data-only way of making decisions suddenly feeling, a little shaky? It's because we're in a world of, as the book calls it, unprecedented volatility. The book actually calls the modern business world a maelstrom of volatility. And look, that's not just some fancy dramatic phrase, it's real. We're talking about wild, unpredictable market swings, supply chains that feel like they could snap at any moment. And, let's be honest, the sheer complexity of managing hybrid teams. This isn't just a temporary rough patch. This is the new normal. It's a state of constant nagging uncertainty. And that brings us to the core problem, right? Data is amazing for telling you what's already happened. It's like driving by only looking in the rearview mirror. In a world that's changing this fast, that historical data can give you an incomplete or even a totally misleading picture of the road ahead. It just can't predict weird human behavior, sudden shocks to the market, or those crazy black swan events nobody saw coming. Okay, so if data alone isn't cutting it anymore, what's the answer? Well, this is where the book introduces a really powerful idea, a genuine paradigm shift in how we should be thinking about decisions. And that idea is called blended decision-making. Now, let's be super clear here. This is not about tossing your spreadsheets in the trash and just, going with the vibe. Not at all. It's a much smarter, disciplined approach. It's about integrating your sharp strategic analysis, all that hard data, with your innate wisdom, your intuition, to see the whole picture, not just part of it. And this quote from the author, Caspian Lux, just nails it. This isn't about abandoning logic, but about elevating your intuition to meet the demands of a chaotic world. That's it right there. You're not choosing between logic and intuition. You're making intuition an equal partner with your logic. You keep all your analytical skills, but you add this incredibly powerful, uniquely human tool to your arsenal that, let's face it, most of us have been taught to ignore. So, the big question is, how do you actually do this? How do you do it in a way that's reliable and not just random guesswork? Well, this isn't just some vague, fluffy concept. The book lays out a really clear, science-backed framework for turning that gut feeling into what it calls a strategic superpower. And it breaks down into 3 simple but powerful steps. First is sense. This is all about learning to pick up on those subtle cues, the little patterns in the noise that the spreadsheets are just going to miss. Next, you calibrate. This is the reality check. You take that gut feeling and you test it against the facts you do have, against your own past experiences. And finally, you act. You make the call, decisively, with confidence, even when you know you don't have 100% of the information. Because let's be real, you never do. So what this framework really does is it takes intuition out of the realm of magic and mystery. It demystifies it. It turns that vague gut feeling into a tangible, active, strategic tool that you can pull out and use, especially when the stakes are highest. Okay, so if instinct is a tool, that means it's also a skill. And like any skill, whether it's hitting a baseball or coding, you can get better at it with practice. So how do you actually sharpen this instinct? The book gives us a practical playbook to go from just knowing the theory to actually doing it. And this playbook is packed with really tangible stuff. We're talking about actionable case studies from the real world, so you can see how this works. There are daily practices and exercises you can do to build up that intuitive muscle. And I love this part. It talks about the art of recovery from mistakes, because you're not always going to be right. And learning how to bounce back and learn from those misses is absolutely crucial to the whole process. All right, let's bring this all together. What's the end game here? Why should you even bother putting in the work to develop this skill? What's the real tangible payoff for you as a leader? Well, the difference is pretty stark when you lay it out like this. When you're stuck in data alone mode, you tend to be reactive. You get trapped in analysis paralysis, right? Just waiting for one more piece of data. But when you move to this blended approach, everything shifts. You become proactive instead of reactive. You see the whole holistic picture. You become resilient to all that uncertainty we talked about, and you can take confident action, even when the future is fuzzy. And here is the absolute bottom line. This isn't just another soft skill to add to your resume. Think about it. In a world where all your competitors can buy the same data, the same reports, the same analytics tools, what's your edge? The book argues that your edge is your ability to blend that data with your well-honed intuition. That becomes your truly unique, unshakable competitive advantage. So, I'll just leave you with this final thought. The next time you're facing one of those really high-stakes decisions, and you've looked at all the spreadsheets and the data has taken you as far as it can possibly go, what are you going to rely on to get you over the finish line? What's going to give you the edge? The answer, as we've explored today, might just be found at the edge of your own instinct.